Welcome to Fore Yore Lore. I'm John Adamick. My guest today is Dr. Jeffrey Shaw. Dr. Shaw has a unique background that has led him to this current discussion regarding his activities as a doctor of chiropractic, a charter fishing captain, a township supervisor, and a steward of an historic mill home where the salmon run. Dr. Shaw, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John.
Well, when we met, I had connected with you because I had seen a post you had put on a Facebook group, What Do You See Through Your Window? And it was fascinating. You got a lot of responses because you had an image of a lot of fish, and we're going to show the audience that hopefully in a little bit. But when we first connected, you explained a little bit about your background and how you got to this point to put that image up there in that video. And it was just fascinating to me. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and your experiences that involve fishing and also your professional life?
Sure. Well, I'm from Traverse City, Michigan, up in northern Michigan. I grew up with a dad that loved to fish. He was a farmer. He also worked for Michigan Bell for 30 years, but we fished multiple times a week out on Grand Traverse Bay and the streams for surrounding the area. When I was 18, I went up to Alaska and spent 3 years on a commercial fishing boat. The deadliest catch thing before anybody had ever heard of that.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I got my captain's license, started charter fishing. I do have a chocolate lab that's trying to speak up right now. His name is Fisher, of course.
Yes. Hey, Fisher.
And then I decided to go to chiropractic school. So I went to chiropractic school and got my chiropractic license. I practiced for almost 30 years on the shores of West Grand Traverse Bay, where I grew up fishing. During that time in 1998, I was able to buy this house. Now, growing up, I used to ride my bicycle to this house and fish. As you said, we'll show that area in a minute, but used to stand at the base of the house catching fish, thinking, whoever lives in this house is the luckiest person in the world. And now that's me. So because of my relationship to her, she, this nice little lady that owned it, always said if she ever sold it, I had first option to buy it. So 1998, I had a chance to buy the house. I purchased the house, and some friends and I essentially tore it down and rebuilt it. And then I went back and got my captain's license again, started charter fishing as I planned toward my retirement. I ran and won the supervisor position here in Elmwood Township. So this is my second term that I'm serving here. Interestingly enough, my house was built in 1862. It was a grist mill. So part of the water goes through the house. There's a waterfall next to the house. And again, we'll be showing that in a minute. And the salmon come in out of Lake Michigan through Grand Traverse Bay and up the stream that goes through my house. They can't get past the waterfall, so they spawn at the corner of my house.
Amazing.
So, yeah, it's an extremely unique kind of property.
I'll tell you, when you first told me about that, I thought, I've got a great title for this podcast interview, A River Runs Through It. Then I thought, well, I think that's already been done.
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Where the Salmon Run, but that may not come out here. So you restored this home that was built in 1862, and you've worked really to realize a dream that has been with you since childhood, and you've gained a lot of other experience related to fish. Your 3 years out in Alaska doing the commercial fishing out there. You've got your charter fishing, which you do, and your boat is the
Well Adjusted is the name of the boat.
The Well Adjusted.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead then, and I'm going to see if I can, at the request of anybody who's watching this, I'm going to try to minimize my view and open this up so that you can show us a little bit about your house. And if I recall correctly, and if I understand, we've been waiting months for this because right now a special event is happening right outside your house or under your house. So this is kind of special in a couple ways. Today is International Podcast Day, and this
Beautiful.
and this is also the first episode of my second season hosting For Your Lore. And this is really the first mobile video interview I've ever done. So
turn my phone around. So there is a dam underneath my driveway, and I will attempt to do this. So the dam is there.
okay.
That creates a pond upstream is the slough. Is my home and the slough. There's about 2,000 gallons of water a minute that go by here. And the dam underneath my driveway controls the level of Cedar Lake. So I'm going to walk us down the path next to the house. And John, if you can see, there's 3 salmon, 4 salmon, 5 salmon right there. They typically spend all day trying to jump up this waterfall.
That's fantastic.
And it goes all the way up to there.
Okay.
So we'll walk around the back side to give you a better.
You actually open it up to people that want to come and stay. Is that right?
Yes. So I actually have a guest suite that's advertised on Airbnb.
Okay.
And it's connected to the house, but has a separate entrance. So the bedroom for the Airbnb is right there.
Okay.
And so people that stay in it are directly above the waterfall, and you know everybody seems to love the sound of the water.
Yeah.
So we'll walk around this side. How are we doing? We doing okay, John?
We're doing super.
Okay. So I also have, if we ever do this in the spring, I have 4,000 daffodils.
Wow.
So it's a sea of yellow around the house. I also have fruit trees, apple tree.
Yeah.
And I have peach trees and tons of flowers. I also have some tomato plants that are 10 feet tall. Those are the tomatoes, if you can see them, and enormous butterfly bushes.
Yeah, and let me mention for those who aren't familiar with Michigan, you know, I'm from Michigan, and most of the time when you meet somebody and they say, where are you from? And you say Michigan, they say where, and they expect people to put up their hand.
That is correct.
And for the folks in lower Michigan, because there is a wonderful upper peninsula, but for the folks in lower Michigan, Traverse City, I would say, and the Grand Traverse Bay is kind of between the pinky and the ring finger. Would you say that's kind of close?
That is exactly where it's at. Yep.
Well,
so Fisher and I have walked down to the bridge and the gazebo.
okay.
And hopefully you're able to see that.
Yeah.
And as we approach it, all those dark spots you see out there are actually salmon.
And how big,
closer so you can...
how big do you think those are?
What's that?
How big are those salmon?
The coho salmon are from 8 to about 10 pounds. The king salmon are up to 25 pounds. And you can see them swimming around.
Wow.
Our side. There's large groups of them. And next I'm going to walk into my bedroom, and you can see him out the window. And that's the initial video that you responded to was out my bedroom window. So it's an amazing thing to wake up in the morning and look out there and see schools of salmon right outside your bedroom window.
So a lot of folks may not be familiar with salmon, but salmon, you were explaining to me, they live their whole lives kind of out in Lake Michigan, for example, and then they come in. Did you say a 4-year rotation?
That's correct. Yeah, they live 4 years. They come in and lay their eggs and die, and that's the salmon's whole life is 4 years. So, you know, I try to I am a charter fishing captain, so I spend all summer out there trying to catch them in the boat.
Yeah.
The ones that make it in here are the ones that have beat predators and disease and fishermen and all of those things. So I try to protect them once they come in here. I do fairly often have to ask people not to fish down there. I did that yesterday, and this is a trout stream, so it closes legally. It closes after today for fishing, but
Okay.
this is not a navigable stream.
Okay.
So anybody that owns both sides of the stream also owns the stream bottom.
Wow.
So this is out my bedroom window. I just cranked it open. This is the bedroom, and I'm just going to flip my phone around so people can see straight down.
Wow. And there's a salmon down there.
I'm sorry, what?
There's the salmon. We could see them right there.
Yeah, they're straight below my bedroom. There was a gray heron in here just a few minutes ago, or a blue heron, I guess, that was fishing. I have seen him stab and eat up to about 3-pound salmon, which is pretty amazing to see. You wouldn't think they think that, but, they're pretty aggressive. So, but I'll flip it around again.
Yeah, thanks. And so looking down there, what percentage would you say of those salmon make it up the waterfall?
Zero. They can't get past my home. So I've seen them get maybe 10 or 12 feet up. That's about as far. If we stood down at the base of the waterfall where I walked initially, within 5 or 10 minutes, we would see one trying to jump off.
Okay.
And we can certainly do that. I've over the years have taken lots of videos of them trying to make it up, splashing. And what typically happens, we have a beautiful day today. If we get a cold, rainy day, it drops the water temperature a little bit. And when that water temperature drops, it inspires them to try to go upstream.
Okay.
So on cold, rainy days, they are jumping and splashing all day and all night.
Okay.
Not uncommon to have 2 or 3 jumping at once. And
Wow.
so that's pretty interesting to see. And as I said, I can walk back down there if you'd like. And
Well, yeah, I think you have some of the mill operations located there you had mentioned before. Do you have the room? Can you see any of that?
no, you really can't. It's underneath the wooden floor down in the basement.
Okay.
So it passes through the basement of the house, and the turbines that used to run the mill are still down in there. And I'll walk out in my yard, the millstones that used to be used. This is one of the millstones right here, John.
Okay.
As you can see, I have some flowers and a wishing well on it. And then the other millstone is over here in the brick path. So.
All right. So your work as a charter fishing captain, how many people do you take and how far out do you go? And like, what is your typical focus? I realize you're looking mostly for salmon, but there's other fish too, right?
Sure. Yeah. So as a licensed captain in the Great Lakes, it's called a 6-pack license. So you can take up to 6 people for hire. So we take up to 6 people. We catch a lot of lake trout here. We also catch steelhead brown trout, Cisco, which is the same family as the whitefish, and then king salmon and coho salmon. So lake trout are probably our most popular fish to catch. They're wonderful to eat. They get big. They're fun to catch. And they're very plentiful out here in West Grand Traverse Bay.
What's the largest lake trout that somebody on your boat has landed?
We caught one that was 22 pounds last year.
Yeah.
This year, our biggest one was 16.5 pounds.
Okay.
They average about 6 to 8 pounds. We catch lots of them that are 10 to 12 pounds.
Yeah.
So,
which is just a wonderful fish, and they're so amazing to look at.
Yep, it is.
And,
they're very pretty fish. They're, like I said, they're fun to catch. So
when you were out in Alaska, what kind of fishing was that?
So in the springtime, we fished for herring. So the herring roe industry was just becoming popular in Japan. So herring roe is a delicacy in Japan. So
Okay.
springtime we were catching herring, which we sold for the roe, the eggs.
Yep.
And I think the last year I fished up there, we caught about 280,000 pounds of
Wow.
herring. And then once springtime was over, we started our salmon fishing. So pink salmon was the main industry. Last year I fished up there, we caught about 300,000 pinks.
Wow.
And then we also caught some red salmon, which are called sockeyes.
Right.
King salmon are Chinook. Up in Alaska, there's also dog salmon and chum salmon. And then I spent a little time on a couple of crab boats.
Wow.
And that was in the fall.
Did you reach a point where you said, you know, I think I've had enough fish for a few years?
Yeah. Yeah, ironically, I was the only one on the fishing boats that liked to fish, you know. So on my days off, I actually would grab my fishing rod and fish. We didn't have many days off or much time off. But yeah, I mean, after doing it for 3 years, it was the right time to stop. You know, it's a dangerous occupation, and a lot of guys didn't have fingers and toes and all those kind of things. So
Wow.
So, you know, people that have watched the Deadliest Catch thing, they always ask me if I've ever seen the show, and ironically, I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it. So
Yeah, you've lived that. You don't need to see that.
yeah.
So,
I always tell people, if you've seen the movie The Perfect Storm, you know, I was in those kind of waves, and you know, not much fun.
oh my goodness. I'm afraid we lost you on video there. There you are.
There was a call trying to come in. So
Okay. So if people are wanting to come and fish in and stay, do you get people who want to do both? They want to take a charter and they want to stay at the mill home?
I do. I have a lot of that. So I have a lot of people that stay here and also fish. So, you know, Traverse City Charter Fishing is easy to find online. fishtc.net is the website.
Okay.
Fish TC, like in Traverse City, .net. You know, as I said, the grist mill apartment is what it's called. That can be found on Airbnb.
Yes.
So yeah, you know, it works out really well when people can do both.
Well, I know in talking to people in the Southeast where I live now, anybody that's been to Michigan, that has been up to the Traverse City area, just speaks of it in amazingly glowing terms. Traverse City is world renowned for its beauty, for its outdoor activities, all seasons, winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And the fishing access is really unparalleled with the Great Lakes right nearby, Grand Traverse Bay, a little bit more protected. Do you go out into Lake Michigan proper?
No, it's the West Grand Traverse Bay is 30 miles long.
Wow.
And we're protected on 3 sides.
Right.
So I did somewhere around 80 fishing charters this summer, and we never had to reschedule any because of weather. So because we can always find some place to fish,
Right.
because we're surrounded. So so there's no reason for us to run out of Grand Traverse Bay.
Sure.
My boat has a 308-gallon gas tank that's not that much fun to fill. So running that far doesn't seem like a great idea.
All right, I've got a question for you. What do you do for vacation?
Well, I'm not very good at vacationing, John. I like to go fish.
Okay.
I have a place in Cabo that I go to.
Okay.
And the marlin on the wall behind me came from Cabo.
Okay.
And so I love to go there, and I haven't been there since 2019, but that would be my go-to place. The other thing, and I don't know how it will show up with the light, but on the wall behind me are several other fish. That one is a 7-pound, 3-ounce brook trout, which is an enormous brook trout that I caught up near the Arctic Circle. This one over here is a king salmon that was caught right out here in front of my house.
Wow.
That one was 31 pounds.
Wow.
And then this is a steelhead that I also caught out there for the trout fishing and rainbow trout fishermen. That one was 21 pounds. So I like to fish on my vacations.
Yeah, that's amazing. So where were you for the Arctic Circle?
Up in Northeast Quebec.
Okay.
So, way up St. James Bay, up in that direction. So
Yeah, I mean, that's way up there. That is,
it is.
my brother took me to the Northwest Territory, Saskatchewan,
Okay.
in 2007, and we went for northern pike and lake trout. And it was, I want to say, like 60 miles from the Arctic Circle. And we went in, I think it was late June, and the ice had just come off the lake up there, Selwyn Lake. And I think it was only going to stay off for a couple weeks. And that was that window. So what did you catch the marlin on?
On a huge purple squid looking thing.
Okay. Okay.
So I was out on a boat with a charter.
Yeah.
And that was about 20 some years ago. So,
okay. Well, Dr. Shaw, I really appreciate your time today. And based on my understanding of the technology available to us right here, I think we've got a couple minutes. Is there anything you'd like to share with anybody that's watching this?
John, first of all, thank you for doing this. This is really cool. Like you said, technology is an amazing thing. Here in Michigan, here in northern Michigan, we have an incredible amount of water. Grand Traverse Bay, where I fish, is 400 feet deep, just 5 minutes from shore. That's on West Grand Traverse Bay. On East Grand Traverse Bay, there's a spot that's 600 feet deep. And we've always taken our water for granted here, but other parts of the world, there isn't any. And we are so blessed and so fortunate. So we're trying to do things to protect our water. And I think it's important for everybody to do that. It's a resource that here in Michigan, as time goes on, we're going to realize how valuable it really is. So
absolutely. Michigan is in a unique position relative to fresh water in the world. And it's the Great Lakes state for a couple of reasons, but obviously the freshwater resource is an invaluable opportunity for Michigan, and people just enjoy traveling there. And I also want to clarify, some folks ask, where is northern Michigan? And so northern Michigan, if I understand correctly, is where you're at. The Upper Peninsula is not, it's northern, but it's not northern Michigan. Northern Michigan, once you hit kind of, I guess, the 45th parallel going up that way, and I'm going to go ahead, I may have my hand reversed, but once you hit kind of like right there, this is northern Michigan, and there's Dr. Shaw. Fish.
Northern Michigan is an incredibly beautiful place. And,
absolutely. I love it there. I was able to visit a few weeks ago and just had a great time. Dr. Shaw, I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to following up. And thank you again for being a guest on Fore Yore Lore.
John, thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Take care.